This video has been sponsored by Elsword. Make sure to stay tuned for a look at what Season 2 has to offer.
Yo, it's Austin, and it's time for a follow-up that is long overdue. Many people have been asking me, like, hey, where's the licensed games? Where are the bad anime games at? Well, here, Bad Anime Games Volume 2. Let's do it.
Last time, we took a look at a plethora of games. Some licensed, some just random games with an anime aesthetic. But most importantly, I learned that a few of you out there really like Evil Zone, and I don't really know how I feel about that. But this time, we're gonna look exclusively at licensed anime games. Now, there's a massive vat of licensed anime games to pick from. While there's a few gems here and there, let's be real, most of these are definitely licensed anime games. It's kind of weird to me how a majority of these games seem to be fighters based around shonen properties. Obviously, that's not all we're gonna talk about, because talking only about fighting games would be pretty boring. Thankfully, every now and then, you get something a little different that breaks the mold. Well, I mean, it tries.
So let's get the weeb train rolling with the very first localized video game for a very well-loved and critically acclaimed anime, Full Metal Alchemist and The Broken Angel. That's the title.
Now, I've never seen Brotherhood, which is something I need to remedy immediately. But I did watch the entirety of the original Full Metal Alchemist anime. Being like 14 when FMA started to really make waves over here in the States, I was pretty hyped by the adventures of Ed and Al. Now, when you tell me that not only is the game being developed by Rakjin, the people who made both Snowboard Kid games, and is being published by Square Enix, like, I mean, of course, who wouldn't get excited? But I am pleased to report that a demo disc was enough for me when I was a kid. So you start as Al and Ed on board a train on their way to Central with best boy General Armstrong. Suddenly, the train is attacked by terrorists in what has to be one of the lamest opening sequences I've played in a game. Everyone just seems so unenthused to be there. I don't know how, but they made Armstrong kind of a discount version of himself, but that's besides the point. Let's talk about trains. Train levels in video games and even just general media are supposed to be some crazy hype shit. The threat of falling off, the quick moving scenery. Some of my favorite action sequences in movies take place on trains, like, yeah, don't fall off, man! Oh no. Broken Angel is kind of just like, hey, this is a train. It's also the tutorial level and the plot setup, which means every 30 seconds we gotta interrupt the action for cutscenes and tutorials and more cutscenes. When you're fighting inside the train, it's like, kill some dudes, move forward a bit, and then more enemies come from behind. But this happens for like 4 identical looking screens in a row, and I just lost interest so quickly. Then when you're on top of the train, you just, like, how did they make the train level so boring?
Now, you can't have Full Metal Alchemist without there being alchemy. And, I mean, there's alchemy.
Can't forget to remind us about that. Rather than reading and studying up on years of decades of research and devoting your entire life to the art, alchemy is as easy as holding the circle button. Yes, even you can do alchemy. Tap circle for a quick block, hold circle for a rock attack thing. Actually, one of the neat things about Broken Angel is that you can transmute objects you find lying around. Trash cans, suitcases, carts of food, anything goes in the world of Full Metal Alchemist. Objects will transform into temporarily equipable weapons or even turrets or guns for you to use. It's neat because this will actually change up your attacks and allow for neat mix-ups as opposed to your standard 3-hit combo. But you don't really need them because everything just kinda dies. You can control Al by pressing the R1 button. He'll come over to you and maybe sometimes attack things, or get stuck on the geometry. Come on, Al, I know you're a possessed suit of armor, but there's gotta be some kind of brain in there. Please? Please come. You can do special attacks with him, but you'll mostly use Al to knock over bosses, which, speaking of, look, I know y'all wanted to incorporate fun things with the transmuting into the boss fights, but it's kind of infuriating when this monkey fuck is just hanging from the ceiling throwing his alchemy shit at me, preventing me from even using the thing I was supposed to be using. Well, at least I can ride a pogo stick, so that's pretty cool, I guess. Broken Angel is kind of just filler, something that plagued the original Full Metal Alchemist anime. You can't really do anything interesting that would impact the lore itself, so we just have an amalgamation of forgettable characters and plot devices so predictable you want to just stop playing. So I will. Now, there is a follow-up to Broken Angel called Curse of the Crimson Elixir, as well as a third by the same developer that never made it stateside called Kami o Sugu Shoujo. Maybe I'll talk about Crimson Elixir another day, but for now, we must continue!
Let's keep this rolling with another critically acclaimed anime. Now, when I had heard that this game had been localized, let alone made, I was kinda shook. I present to you Samurai Champloo Sidetracked.
Ah yes, Samurai Champloo. The show a lot of people consider to be in the upper echelon of anime, directed by Shinichiro Watanabe of Cowboy Bebop fame. The anime equivalent of fusion food trucks, but with an alternate Edo Japan and fucking hip-hop. Champloo is a fun episodic anime, one that introduced me to the incredibly talented Nujabes, who was unfortunately taken from us too soon. Rest in peace, buddy. So while doing research, I stumbled upon Sidetracked, which actually seemed to have quite a lot going in its favor. Hey, guess what? This is a Suda51 game. You know, Killer 7, No More Heroes, Lollipop Chainsaw. In fact, this is just straight up a Grasshopper game. While we do have the main theme by Nujabes, our soundtrack was done by Masafumi Takada. Oh, you know, God Hand, Vanquish, all the Danganronpas. In terms of recreating the style of Samurai Champloo, Grasshopper did an absolutely amazing job. Everything is over-stylized to the point where it becomes its own style synonymous with the original anime. The music is pumping, loading transitions become their own sight to see, visual gags and minigames consume every one of your eye pores? Is that a thing? But well, it's just extremely unfortunate that when it comes to gameplay, Sidetracked got a little sidetracked.
Stop! Okay.
This game is aggressively mediocre. Despite looking, especially for the time, visually alluring, all of the combat just kinda is The story allows you to play as Mugen or Jin, both of which have very different movesets. They actually have different combo styles as well. If you look right about here, you'll see your moveset is actually on screen at all times. That's because along with a weapon, you get to equip tracks, which alter the way they play. All of the music you listen to in the gameplay segments is based solely on what you equip. Each track has a different moveset for your weapon, and you get to equip 2 of these at once that you can switch between like a DJ fading between records. It's pretty neat in concept, but ultimately the combat itself feels too janky and stiff for it to really matter. Enemies seem near endless, but all go down in seconds. Then on top of all of this weirdness, you can sometimes trigger a minigame where you just have to mash your face buttons a certain amount of times, and then if you succeed that, you unlock another minigame. In this one, you gotta kill 100 dudes without getting hit more than 3 times to unlock a chest that drops the weapon for purchase before kicking you back out to the game you were actually playing. Like, fuck, man. It feels extremely convoluted and frankly just kind of tedious. Now, it would help if the story was gripping or mattered, but Bandai has actually stated that Sidetracked has no direct relation to any of the events in the show, so I guess this game just kind of exists. These non-canon weird cutscenes drag on for long periods of time, be it character dialogue or the most terrifying bear in existence looking menacing. Jesus Christ. The story here just isn't gripping enough for me to want to keep going. Not that I could anyway, since my backwards compatible PS3 literally freezes anytime I try to equip a new weapon on either character, so I guess we're done here. Next! Alrighty, let's take a break from all the garbage to talk a little bit about Elsword. Now, some of y'all might already know about Elsword's existence, but more recently a bunch of changes were made into the game. But let's start at the basics. Free-to-play, 2.5D platformer action MMORPG with a focus on skill-based combat. Anime, PvP and PvE, big damage, big anime. Free! Considering all the free-to-play stuff I grew up with back in the day, I was genuinely surprised to see all the refinement that Elsword has. But you see, this is Elsword 2. With the new update in December that continues to roll out new jobs for all 12 characters, Elsword has a lot on the table for its players. And hey, while it might seem like a lot, they've actually made a lot of quality of life adjustments to all of the systems. No longer do you have to invest with skill points, abilities are just unlocked when you reach certain levels. Rather than having to commit to just one skill, you unlock it all, so the choice is yours to make. Someone might say, but hey, isn't this one of those pay-to-win games? But no, Elsword doesn't want to be that. After supporting the game for so long, Elsword is shifting their focus to become more of a play-to-win type situation. And this is evident on how accessible leveling up has become. Less grind, more action. And hell, if you're digging all the characters like Aisha here, you can go check out the anime, which is free to watch on YouTube. If all of this sounds like your jam, check out the link in the description below to start playing Elsword today.
Okay, look, I said we weren't gonna do any fighting games, but sometimes Dude, sometimes a game is so bad, it's so infamous that you just have to tackle it, and I'm pleased to report that Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Fighter 22 Ultimate Battle, not Fighter, Ultimate Battle 22 is just as bad. It's amazing. I love this game.
Isn't this just incredible? In a world where Street Fighter 2 existed, I have no idea how Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22 came out. Or I guess 27 when you unlock all the characters. Surprisingly, 27 actually predates the entire Street Fighter Alpha franchise, but it's not like there weren't decent fighting games before this. Just showing you Ultimate Battle 22 isn't enough. Explaining Ultimate Battle 22 is even harder, as it just doesn't seem to want to play with any conventional video game things, but I'm sure as hell gonna try. For starters, I had no idea that this game was the inspiration for Street Fighter V's original story mode, as in it doesn't have one, or an arcade mode, just random battles and build-up battle, where you fight the same dudes over and over to level up your character artificially in order to fight the stronger characters. But good luck getting too far because you can't hit Goten or Trunks. You just can't. Look, they're too short. All of the normal punches just go over their head and they tend to block low attacks all the time. Like what? What do you do? Like I had no idea I would be struggling this much. The only thing you can do in this game is charge up and throw supers out and just hope for the best. Raw super! But then they just block it. Like what the fuck? Combos don't really exist in Ultimate Battle 22. Instead, you just want to rely on key blasts since it's the safest thing to do. But as you can see, it drains your meter, and if you exhaust that, you're stunned for a little bit. So now, ladies, gentlemen, others, and Dragon Boys, allow me to show you how to power up.
Okay, so you gotta hold X, square, and circle at the same time, but don't hit circle first, because that might fire a key blast. And then you hold these down, and then you like mash the D-pad, and then sometimes it'll work.
Yeah, this sure is a video game. Hey look, it says Vegito, but that's definitely Gogeta. Also, Trunks has like one voice clip anytime he gets hit, so let's just play that 5 times and move on to the next one.
Now, it is time for me to unveil one of gaming's deepest, darkest secrets. Did you know that Sonic Team makes bad games? Oh, you did know. Oh, okay. Well, Sonic Team made an Astro Boy game.
2 years before the infamous Sonic 06, we got a taste of incompetence in the shape of 2004's Astro Boy game, based on the 2003 remake of the anime, which was, by the way, really good. Now we all know that Devilman Crybaby was the first anime ever invented, but Astro Boy was a pretty good one too. Unfortunately, it never really caught on over here stateside like it did in Japan. Osamu Tezuka and a majority of his work, at least in my opinion, seems really underappreciated here in the States. Astro Boy, Blackjack, and Metropolis are absolute classics that deserve your attention, but that's another topic entirely. So yeah, Sonic Team's Astro Boy for the PlayStation 2. If there was one game that Astro seemed to be really inspired by, it was Superman 64. Like, actually. Maybe not the best game to pull from. The concepts explored in Astro Boy are maybe a bit dated now, but basically this dude with the massive nose, Dr. Tenma, wanted to recreate his son Tobio and created Astro. However, Astro was way too powerful, so he shut him down, where he was then essentially adopted by this other dude with an even bigger nose, Professor Ochanomizu. Astro himself was built with an advanced AI called Kokoro. Oh god. So Dr. Tenma ends up being a little crazy and tries to enslave humanity to robots using Astro as the catalyst, and he's all like, no, I enjoy being a servant to humanity, or something like that. It's classic. Shut up. This game, on the other hand, this should have been so good. For fuck's sake, you can fly around an openish world and fight things in the sky. You can shoot big lasers and fly at hypothetical high speeds, but instead all you do is fight the fucking camera. Anytime you find yourself engaged in a big fight, the camera just decides to piss off, leaving you not only vulnerable, but frustrated. Not like the fights mean anything anyways, considering for like half of the levels you can just zip right by them. You don't gain anything for fighting them, only a loss of health and patience. This is bad in a game that is barely 3 hours long. Yeah, you heard me right. 3 hours. Imagine dropping $50 on this back in the day and being frustrated and done with it in half of a work shift. You would start crying and run to your Okasan, don't even lie. Astro has one 3-hit combo. His laser takes a long time to charge up, and then you're left vulnerable. You do get incremental upgrades to your Kokoro slowly throughout the game, but it hardly feels like anything. Boss fights are either extremely easy or super frustrating, and suddenly it's done. Astro Boy has saved the world. I was almost kinda hoping that this would end with a self-sacrifice kind of thing, but nah, he winks to the fucking camera and flies down to Earth before the credits drop "Let's rock it" at you and the game restarts. Dude, this made me so mad. Speaking of, the set piece for the final fight is kind of neat, but holy goddamn if it isn't extremely frustrating. Took me like 4 attempts because it turns out all you gotta do is cheese it because these floaty boys do so much damage. Wait, did Gurren Lagann rip off Astro Boy? Never mind. However, it turns out there are collectibles in this game. A fact I didn't notice until 2/3 of the way through. But even when you do get to these levels like the volcano, it's literally the same 2 maps over and over. Considering I was skipping the combat due to the uncontrollable camera and pointlessness of the combat, I thought I was just going in circles over and over, but nope, I wasn't. I don't know why they made this giant open world and did nothing with it. Like they filled it with the Superman 64 rings because they didn't have anything else to do. And the sense of speed in this area, even when boosting, feels like Astro's going at a snail's pace. Sonic Team messed up bad here. To be honest, the best thing to do in this game is to just go into the central market and throw chairs and tables at the NPCs. Astro's not a good boy, he's a fucking menace. As he should be when the NPCs talk in different fonts and give you quests like this Simon Says bullshit that goes on and on and on. Geez, couldn't you have more than one voice clip? It's been 40 days since you were born. I wish I wasn't, Dad! Yuji Naka and Sonic Team sure tried their best. Astro Boy for the PS2. Maybe don't.
Alright, y'all, it's time for one more game, and it's a biggin'. The next game was received well. The next game is fondly remembered. And to those of you who feel that way, I ask why. Who hurt you? Do you need help? Sword of the Berserk Guts Rage for the Dreamcast.
Don't touch me, you bastard!
Is how I now feel about the entire Berserk franchise. Stop it. No more animes because they look fucking weird. No more video games because, I talked a bit about Band of the Hawk in my last video, but Jesus fuck is Guts Rage 10 times worse. A 7.8 from GameStop, Sword of the Berserk is the best Final Fight type game to appear in ages. A 4 out of 5 from some guy on Game FAQs. If you like hitting things in the face with a big iron, this is the game for you. An 8 from IGN. I don't know, but there's killing and blood. None of this green mutant nonsense either. I'm talking about the good stuff. Red blood. Oh, that's weird. Sword of the Berserk Guts Rage has some of the makings of a decent game. It's a side story that takes place in between volumes 22 and 23. In fact, the story was actually written by series creator Kentaro Miura, so by all means from a story perspective, it should be about what you expect. Dark, depressing berserkiness. However, this game wasn't made by any normal game developer. This was made by Ukes. Yes, that Ukes. Evil Zone, Eve of Extinction, all the really bad WWE 2K games for some reason. So we've reached a standstill. We might have the original writer, but we got the developer equivalent of Scotch tape trying to hold it all together. We'll see how that one plays out. Let's just look at the gameplay. Yeah, that's about right. Not only is Berserk a 3D beat 'em up, it's also, shocker, a janky one. Haha, yes! Fuck your childhood, this game is not good. And it's not like it hasn't aged very well. Well, yeah, there is that, but also the game was kind of just maybe never good? At least not from the gameplay perspective. Why make a Berserk game where your sword is clacking against the walls all the time? Look, I know some of you are gonna be like, yeah, stupid, you're not supposed to use your sword in small corridors. You're supposed to do the punching and the bombs. But yeah, no. Punching is weak and terrible, and how am I supposed to get anything done when I'm faced with this?
Okay, so let's step away from the game side of things and move into the story. Maybe that'll calm us down just a bit.
You start with Guts and his band of friends stumbling upon a group of traveling performers being attacked by bandits, and of course he's all like,
"Darn it, punk."
So you do that, saving a young girl named Rita in the process. You travel together to a small town with a castle where you find out that there's a disease turning people into mandragorans. It's very dark and depressing and berserk-like, and for some reason, Casca's okay with Guts doing this. Which, I don't remember my lore at the moment, but that doesn't seem right.
Everyone stand back. Baron Balzac is here for an inspection.
Baron Balzac. His His name is Ballsack? Okay, sure. Or I guess in the original Japanese, that would be Baruzaku. Fuck, why? Why? Look, I'm all down for some Berserk, but I'm I'm having trouble getting over the main villain being named Ballsack. Woo! Okay, let's do this. So Ballsack is the Baron of this castle who gives Guts a task, but shocker, he's a bad guy, oh no. So you go and fight a nun who is also a bad guy, Decapitator. Everyone wants to kill you. Also the leader of the rebels is Colonel Campbell from Metal Gear Solid, and I can't seem to get it out of my head.
I have made my decision. I am going with you to the great tree to get its heart.
Just like Astro Boy, you get absolutely nothing for killing enemies. There's no XP system in play here, just progression. Granted, you do have multiple paths through levels thanks to QuickTime events, but even then, it's all on the same path to the same ending. But most of my trouble with Berserk's combat comes with the level design. Instead of letting me run around and let me murderize everything with Guts' big sword chan, instead I'm forced to do other stuff because it cancels my attacks in narrow hallways, which is almost every level. Unless you activate Rage Mode, which causes the video game to say fuck collision detection. But when you don't have that, you kinda just have to deal with it, or like... Boss fights can be super frustrating throughout the game too. Some are piss easy, dodge a couple times, slap them in the face, and others kill me a plethora of times. Which, by the way, for some reason Berserk works on a credit system instead of just reloading, but this wasn't an arcade game. Okay. Zod is in this game too, for some reason. He tosses you around unless you cheese the hell out of him, which you know I did. The jump attack in this game is kind of bullshit overpowered, but I'm down for it. Eventually you get back to Ballsack, who...
She is not my daughter. She is Annette, my wife.
Oh, god damn it. That's actually his wife, who he's been keeping alive with the Mandragora stuff, and it's kind of weird and creepy and reminds me a little bit of the fact that I'm playing a Berserk game, which is pretty fucked up. Then for some reason, they made a Crash Bandicoot clone in probably what is the most bullshit part of the entire game, and then end up in the final fight against Demon Ballsack. You know, for the time, 1999 that is, the graphics are pretty impressive. Considering this was up against Final Fantasy VIII in terms of landmarks at the time, the detail on Guts looks great. The backgrounds here are a super neat and cool touch, but the boss fight itself is a cakewalk, and then it's just over. I can see maybe why people enjoyed sort of the Berserk back in the day. It was impressive on the aesthetic front. I might even be able to give some of its shortcomings in the gameplay department if the localization wasn't so iffy. I applaud Eidos for being the first to really bring Berserk stateside. A lot of the voice actors they got were absolutely fantastic. However, weird localization issues with the script and the lack of any real Berserk lore can cause a lot of confusion. Also, let's not forget this.
This mean-looking guy is Gatsu. Gatsu! Come on, Gatsu!
Is this offensive?
If you enjoyed sort of the Berserk Guts rage, I really hope it's coming from a place of nostalgia, because, oh man, but at the very, very least, we can all come under the banner of IGN, our bloody IGN man, stand together and realize that yes, Guts rage is better than God Hand.
Make sure to check out the link in the description if you're interested in checking out Elsword. Hey, thank you all so much for watching. Big shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. Your continued support helps the channel let me do things that I want to do like this, and future videos coming up. Check out the Patreon if you're interested, and also if you liked the video, hey, why don't you subscribe, like it or something, I don't know, tell your dad. Your dad might like anime? Still playing Wild Arms 3 for the Game Club of the Month, so check that out on twitch.tv/AustinEruption, and I'll catch you guys next time.